Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. This episode is being recorded on 8/11/24. We're here with Brian Singh, the Solarbee today. This is going to be a very interesting episode. Today, he created the 2024 Disclosure Now conference that we attended recently that you saw the recording for, and the multiple recordings that I recorded there at the conference. So before we go into the interview, Joanna, open the circle.
We are all one. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved one, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, to come in and join us, be it guides, be it family members that have crossed over, be it aliens or others that are interested. Again, benevolence with no conflicting agenda. We ask for this benevolence to please usher out any mischievous or malevolent beings right now who wish to interfere with this conversation. The goal being that all is heard and that you can sit in the comfort of your home and listen to this in freedom and in peace so that you may decide for yourself what you feel works for you. And with that, and with all of the blessings that we send your way, we say, so be it.
Yeah, this is going to be a very special episode, folks. Just like the interviews you've seen before this, we're going to talk about the conference, what Brian does, and maybe even the origin of the Solarbee name. This is his business card. I think they're actually pretty awesome. These right here, the glow in the dark, and I wanted to make sure that got on camera there. So, Brian, we're just going to let you take it from this point.
Oh, thank you, Christopher and Joanna. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I had the pleasure of meeting you via Ida Farhat, one of my co-producers for the Full Disclosure Now conference. And it was amazing to have you on the solar stage, and I'm going to make it a big point to have you two on the galactic main stage next year. And in terms of the path of getting to the conference, I only recently joined the secret space program, MK Ultra, Montauk Project, ET Experiencer, military abductee community. It's all one big community, and it's very tight knit. Behind the scenes, a lot of people know each other and are interacting, and it's amazing. It's like wandering around all your life looking for the party and walk around empty streets, and then you come across like the right bar with like the hidden entrance to like the real event, and it's kind of like what that feels like now, joining the community virtually. And then the whole point of the conference is to bring us together in person with the goal of knowing that we're not ever going to have our Star Trek future unless humanity knows the truth of ET human relations, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And I want people, or would hope people would be inspired by the fact that, I've only been involved in the community for like a year and a half, 2 years now. And, throwing this major conference, everyone is really revved up for next year to be even bigger and better. And more people want to come and bring their friends. So we expect triple to even quadruple the attendance as our goal for next year. And I've had I basically consider myself to be, a starseed light worker that I think, so many of us are. Like we're all starseeds for the most part in this community. I bet 9 out of 10 at least. And I just remember growing up American-born Chinese in an immigrant family on the East Coast in the 1970s and 80s, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. And I was mystified at just American white mainstream culture. Like you go to the shopping mall and you see a poster of like Kiss, the band, with like Gene Simmons going with like this tongue dressed kind of like a satanic clown, and people think that's cool. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And it's not like I can go to my parents, Chinese immigrants, and say, hey, mom and dad, Who's this Gene Simmons guy? Like, I didn't even know his name. What's this Kiss like with lightning bolts thing, And so I just remember having these early experiences of, you know, being in the car, my dad's driving, and we're going into the city to like Chinatown to get Chinese food. And as we go through, we see a poor person, like, homeless, like sick on the street in blankets, coughing in the cold. And I'm like pointing at the person through the window, as a little kid, mommy, daddy, what's wrong with the person? And they're like, smacking my hand down, don't point at people, that's rude, you know? And so there's a period where you go from, hey, I want to help the world, I want to do something, to kind of like you get assimilated a bit in the society, just trying to figure it out. All the grown-ups telling you, how to behave, and deal with it or accept the way society is. And I kind of fell into that for a while. And then 9/11 happened, right? And that was a huge wake-up call. First was that initial trauma, and then a couple years later, when the information came out about World Trade Center 7 and the footage of it collapsing, I just remember getting in a literal, not fist fights, but just really just intellectually strongly argumentative fights with my family, especially my two younger brothers. I'm the eldest of three. About how we're being set up. That was an inside job. It was planned, blah, blah, blah. Look at, the Patriot Act and all this stuff. And at the time, I didn't you know, know it just like ABC, plain as day. But I felt instinctively that this fight over principles was really a fight over our lives. And so later, when the scamdemic kicked in and the whole cocktails came out to, roll up your sleeves, like that was a huge fight. And I was like, no, no, no. But I already knew that because I lost the 9/11 WTC 7 fight and how obvious that is and everything else has been when the scamdemic appeared. And so my dad died last November, after being with my mother perfectly healthy for 50 years. And I knew when he got the cocktail, that was going to happen. Like I just knew. So all of this stuff has gotten me, my in part also what helped get me to where I am today, trying to answer this question. And I know it's a long answer, but hey, it's kind of like, my background story, I guess. Um, my father, as an American immigrant Chinese guy engineer in the 80s, founded Sang Labs Inc. out of our basement. And he helped revolutionize the computer graphics industry in the 80s and 90s to help the IBM PC side catch up to the Apple side in graphics, in computing. When Apple was kind of more sound and video, and like that was the desired platform of all the artists and producers automatically, was Apple for decades. And he helped the other side catch up and make it more accessible to everyone else. That in turn financially gave us the ability to put me through college, get me my biochem degree, let me become a volunteer community organizer for 8 years of my life, putting money into organizing medical doctors and nurses and other sectors of the community to deal with really nasty healthcare policies on the government side, enabling corporations to like rape communities by taking over hospitals, jacking up the cost of care, pulling out the wealthy doctors and patients from the poor hospitals, shutting down the poor hospitals, dumping those patients on the county. And then the county politicians, the supervisors and mayor, they're getting all the campaign donations from the nonprofit, hospitals that don't pay any taxes for being charitable somehow. And it's just, and then the people get screwed. And now you've got like what we have in San Francisco. And I was really proud of the work that I was doing, the organizing, and I learned a lot of skills of organizing and principles and how to run operations and organize lots of people from scratch and train people up so that they are empowered to do everything. And they not only know the how, but they know the why. It's always about the why. And when the scamdemic kicked in, and a lot of those hospitals that I had helped save by working with the physicians and so many others and nurses in the community turned into death factories. That was a huge like spiritual blow to me, and we fled San Francisco. I'm now a prepper in northern Nevada. Um, with my wife and friends and business partners and colleagues and comrades. And the disclosure movement for the last 2 years has been my number one, thing that I'm applying all my resources and skills and time and energy that I have available to, because the Star Trek future, the liberation of humanity and Earth, and by extension, probably the sector of the galaxy is, what could be more important at this time.
And I find it interesting that you're in Nevada, and Nevada is this humongous alien hub there, and it's like Vegas. We've been there, and I don't open up in strange places, but when I was in the safe areas of our hotel room and I had it all fortified and everything, you hear them everywhere on the Vegas Strip. In other parts of Nevada, up in Valley of Fire, over in Red Rock Canyon, all these places, Nevada is just ripe with it. And I was told that that was eventually going to become in that Star Trek future, it was going to become a major spaceport in and out. So because AETs were coming in and out of there all the time anyway. So it's kind of like the terminal in Alaska in Men in Black, where you see the aliens coming and going in there, and that's true too for that. But Nevada was going to be one out in the open, or Vegas was going to be one out in the absolute open. Right now, it doesn't look like it would be, but it is eventually going to switch over to that format, from what I understand. So it's interesting you actually were attracted to that area, because I communicate with several beings that actually come in and out of that area. So, which I find fascinating. Arizona had them too, but Nevada more so. And California not so much anymore. It's Nevada here in Virginia, yeah, but Nevada, yeah, that's a big hub. From what I
So,
understand.
so what are you saying, Christopher? Is California has gotten so bad with wokeness, even the ET contingents are leaving too?
Exactly. If you ask Isaac this, he's one of our ET contacts. He would say that exact thing. His brother is still there. It's just he's just over the border in Barstow there, but it's like they're physical beings that are there. But he's mainly shoved over to Arizona and up in Nevada. So it's like, which I find funny. Even they're doing this. So it's like, so yeah, which I find hilarious. So that should tell you something right there. Yeah. So did you want to?
No, I just find it interesting. Your story was great. And I think that a lot of people, like you were suggesting, people that are coming in pre-wired in a certain way to just see through some of this. It doesn't make sense when you were giving the example of driving and seeing the person when you were little in the car. And, everyone was shooing you down. I mean, society has a tendency, as you put it so well, to just kind of start molding the kids who were coming in a certain way. But for having that inborn discernment, this does not seem like it's appropriate or wise. And then being able to grow up and again see it more and more, it makes it hard sometimes, because although for some folks who those skills you came in pre-wired that way, it is hard to understand how others cannot see it. It's like mind-boggling. How can you not see something that's so in your face? And it gets really difficult sometimes. Then how do you have conversations with people that, if this is over 50% of who you are in your life, how do you now have a conversation with family and friends when you really only have now a little piece of a pie of who you are to even have a conversation with them? And it gets challenging. So I at least want to acknowledge that, because I do understand the challenge that you've had, but you just came in pre-wired that way to work and do the work that you're doing now.
I would say the two words for you there, and thank you, Joanna, is spiritual warfare. And it's either, it's kind of like a muscle, right? If you exercise the muscle, it stays exercised, and it's a decision. Do you want to exercise it or not? And, at a certain point, it's like if you're engaging and realize you see it's spiritual warfare, you make decisions every day, every minute, every second. Am I going to fight that battle or not? And I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I am because for the most part, when those battles came up, I've decided to fight them. And it's like you hear other people in their testimonies, they survived all this MK Ultra abuse and they've been into these like super soldier futuristic battles, like with, laser beams and spaceships and shielding and whatever. And for me, all the battling, it's never been about a physical, science fiction movie thing. It's always been the spiritual lessons and what is the right thing to do versus the not right thing to do. What's the high vibration to do? What's the love versus the fear? And then in terms of where did I find myself in life, I feel it's like where most star seeds find ourselves. It's kind of like, when you've got a bright light, you don't stick it under the basket in the corner, you put it up high on the lamppost. Well, let's say you've got a string of Christmas lights. You don't keep the lights all clumped up and stick them up on your house. You got to stretch them all out. And if you're the individual Christmas light, you're looking around and you feel kind of lonely, it's know that it's because there is a bunch of us, but we've been spread out to best effect. And then our job is to shine as bright as we can without letting the darkness overcome us in our little sector. And then here we are. Those who are here to shine, we're shining. Or those who have yet to shine, where they shined and then they decided they got beat down, they got scuffed up, they're dim. Now's the time to shine again.
Yes, exactly. There's this sequence in the movie Doctor Sleep that talks about this quite readily. At the very end, after the character Danny's passed away, he's a spirit, and he's basically telling the little girl, basically shine your light bright, and even if you encounter something worse that comes along, like but worse than what we encountered, deal with it when it comes along. Don't ever hide who you are. Exactly. And even though they're attacking the warriors first right now in this spiritual slash psionic war that's going on. V2K falls under this, no matter if it's technological or spiritual, falls under the same identical category. Magic and technology have been fused in this. So you have to be aware of what technologically is going on and spiritually going on. And when something comes along, whether you're beaten down or not from the last one you've been hit by, you have to deal with what comes after that. Not co-creating with what comes after that, except for more of a peaceful outcome. But if something gets pissed at you and something is accosting it, you have to deal with it right on the spot. And I've learned that 1,000 times over. Ignoring it's not going to fix it in that way.
But knowing when to ignore.
Know when to ignore.
Right. So
And that's
timing. So it's right. So saying you're going to deal with something later isn't ignoring it, but making sure you make it a point and setting that intention.
Right.
Mhm.
And you have to understand, again, one of the big things again is knowing when, I always say, knowing when something's trying to trip your trigger. And so you can't allow that to happen. So for many people, they don't have the skill to say, we'll come back to this because they're being triggered at the moment. But to be able to say, we can have this conversation when we're calmer, and you do have it. If you're able to do that, then you're gaining control. And again, knowing when you just don't want to give energies to something. The one thing that I, say to people, again, with all the psionics that are happening and being bombarded, is that, is it your thought or is it someone else's thought that's going through your head right now? Are you just empathetically picking up on someone else's drama? I call it drama, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm just saying it's not yours. It's someone else's stuff that's going on. Whose is it? Or could you have had a small thought of something which is perfectly normal that something now has grabbed a hold of and is trying to spin a big web of it, and it's not real anyway. So you have to, again, like we say, know who you are to know what isn't you. And you have to know the tricks of the trade of how the attempt is to try and spin people up so that you can keep your composure. But I will say, if people notice, one of the things is, who are you? Meaning, when you step forward and things come out of your mouth and how you act, that is who you actually are. So for those people that are saying, I'm really not like that, well, then don't act like that, right? You are how you present yourself. What you're not understanding is there could be a struggle going on where you have all of that, but you haven't been able to, let's just say, conquer some of that in order to step forward with who you actually really are. And that's one of those, like we say, some people call it shadow work, but you have to understand the dynamics of it. So the one thing, again, that I do applaud you on, because again, getting to meet you, seeing how you work with people, the one thing I just thought was so wonderful was your natural ability to know when to not engage, and to do it in a way that was peaceful and respectful. It was a joy to see under some stressful things, but you really do have that skill. And that is the skill. Again, it's nice when somebody can demonstrate it and mentor it so well, which I applaud you on that as well, because people around you will recognize it and then realize, wait a minute, that's more representative of who I feel I am. I have to learn to do that.
Right.
So
thank you. Yeah, I was taught a lot of leadership by a lot of skilled organizers. Many of them have literally dedicated their lives to the movements that they're part of. And so, I want to bring that to the disclosure movement. And yeah, get people away from the Freudianism, the emotionalism, keep it on the goal orientation and the higher mission. And when you do that, a lot of the little stuff goes away.
right.
Yeah, we call this concept tighter circle, deeper roots, where you're refining it down to that which you want around you, either person or situation. So that's also the conference I felt was more authentic and more open. People came to us saying, yeah, this is the best one we've been to. This is because of, and they gave that same laundry list of good things they were talking about. So I find that interesting, and also the fact that some of the bad things thought that it was a big enough threat to poke at it a little bit. I understate that a little bit, but at the same time, that's more of a compliment to the chef, pretty much, because because the fact that they took enough time to put their little eyepiece down and look at people, and watch this. That shows that you're doing something right.
Well, let's talk more about that, because I this is one of my favorite topics, is what the other side is or isn't gaining from monitoring us, or in some cases harassing us actively or passively. And I like to think that we plant enough of a seed, they hear, like I always like to give an appeal to the people working for the darker forces. Hey, here's your chance for amnesty, come forward, share what information needs to be shared, free the children in the bases that you have access to, and do something to reverse your negative, horrible karma, it's coming your way, so that you can do something about it and be happy. I always hope that they get something out of that.
There are some that do. There are some I've noticed that do switch sides because of things like that. And it was usually because there's some of the people that were in it weren't exactly completely bad to begin with. They just got stuck in a bad situation. And now it's the really evil ones, the ones that are holding them in chains. Those are the ones you got to worry about. Right. Like,
but
you
were
have,
they listening?
Like,
do you feel that was it the people lower down the food chain who were there and listening, or do you think any of that made it higher up the food chain?
I believe it was both, because you have the V2K operators that were around, you have the rogue alien groups that were around. I'm talking about the negative groups that were there. The V2K operators, I always say that they're sitting on a phone or sitting on a tablet, sending out these set algorithms that for specific people or areas, and I call it watchdog AIs, because they sent out. And then those presets, like you're operating in Photoshop or Illustrator, where you create presets and such, or videos for presets, that's the same type of operating system, where it's a frequency system where they can manipulate a frequency psionically to make somebody go crazy, or to make them fall asleep, or do what have you. Roddenberry depicted this in Earth Final Conflict with the psionic technology he showed there, where the aliens made somebody go nuts in the background, sitting in a back room somewhere. That is exactly what was going on. You can't 100% avoid it, but you can manifest it away from you. And they could be sitting in a neighborhood they could get you to try to do something stupid, at an environment like that. The idea is to remain in this this neutrality, calm state, and it just passes through you.
But everything was there. It's the one thing that, we were saying this, personally to you as well. So as far as the hierarchy of this, the truth is, again, and people don't like this, they like to think that everything they have is so secure. The technology is there that nothing is secure.
Nothing's
So
secure.
you have to understand that everyone knows everyone was there. You know what I mean? All sides, all hierarchy, all whatever. It really is one of those things that you're not really hidden like you would hope you would be hidden. It's just not like that. And some people, for a second, it gives them fear. But I always like to say, why are you fearful? We're all still around. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The enemy is the fear state. But you have to admit this happened. It went well, a lot of great conversation. More of it's going to happen. So what are you really fearful of, and deal with those fears, because the world is more open. The technology is so much greater than what I call it us surface people, than what us surface people think is even there. And so you have the hierarchy, a lot of them watching from a distance, let's just say, with their flunkies, right? Going in or sending in flunkies or portaling in a demon or whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? And so all of these things actually exist. But as we were telling you, and why, again, we set intention at the beginning of our shows, is that collective intention is extremely powerful.
Like the co-creative manifestation.
Yeah.
Right. And so, trying to set these things up. And the one thing that you did have going for you, why there were so many compliments, is just a genuine collective, co-creation of wanting this to go well, because, everyone just wanted to. So you build that a little bit and really get the co-creation kind of going, those types of energy. And it helps, again, foster it and shield it. Does it make it completely impervious? That would be stupid to say. But you have to also have some of that so that you learn about it. And so what you don't want is this excessive overage. But you do at times want, again, I say this on a personal soul level, how are you going to grow if you don't have exposure? So, you have to have some exposure, but you can certainly, as we're saying, have more of the upper hand when you have the collective kind of thought process there, wanting everybody jointly together, wanting a certain thing to occur. And that really can occur that way. So it's really just important just to kind of know these things, because one of the things we've always said is you really don't know yet who you really are to know what you can actually bring to a table. But you don't know that because you've not been taught it. It will be kept from you. It's like these great secrets that, again, part of what we like to do is bring these conversations out in public so that people can learn to have the upper hand.
Yeah. Do you feel because I want to ask you about the good guys afterwards and gals. Do you feel that, what do you think was a takeaway from the other side? What do you think was their takeaway from our conference?
Oh, the good guys?
No, the bad guys. The bad guys. What's their takeaway?
They would have labeled all of us at the conference to be big pains in the ass, which that's a compliment, because I always say it. Isaac always says this when he comes through. He says, "Be the biggest pain in the ass if they try to abduct you, do anything like that, flail around like a toddler or something. Be the biggest pain in the ass because they have a limited timetable in which they can conduct their research or whatever they're doing." Even Miles Johnston was talking about the military that are out of time sync and such doing these things. Him and I matched on that particular subject. We both experienced it. So what they're doing is, if you're doing this, they have a rotation they have to do it in, or like how military always pretty anal retentive about the timetables they use it to begin with in normal circumstances. So if you disrupt that, they label you a pain in the ass and a troublemaker. So it's and I felt from that conference, any of the genuineness from that was labeled a collective pain in the ass to them. That's what I felt from that. To the good side, it was congratulated. So it was congratulated.
But when you bring it down from the bad side, we have to admit that some of these people, humans, some of these other beings just get their jollies off of immediate gratification of ruining somebody's day. So that's just who they are. That's just their mindset. So anytime those lower ones think they can do that and they feel it's a win for them, kind of that.
And we gave them very little. They got very little negativity at our event. So we didn't feed them very well.
Right. So you're going to kind of have all of that. But as Chris was alluding to, the more of this again, and if you can get people to catch on to some of these principles that we're talking about, the growth of those attending will not be linear, they'll be exponential. And that's where we want to see the little fire starting here and little fire starting there and little fire starting over here, because
and energetically spread.
And then energetically it begins to spread. And that's really how this is going to work.
Yeah, and it's the butterfly effect. It's called. Whereas, like, say if you invent something and it duplicates somewhere else on the planet, people think you've stolen like the patent or something.
Right.
There's dual patent.
Right.
That's the effect that's going on, where you think you've stolen it, or if you've gotten to a crossroads where you can't continue on with something, you're like basically the baton passer, the torch passer, where somebody else might have the resources to continue on with the thing somewhere else that's now in the benevolent Akashic records. So it pops up in different places, like with this conference. You created the benchmark, or the linchpin by which one of those fires starts, and it actually becomes the standard. Like when Tesla created AC current out of Edison's DC, it became the standard. The torch got passed. It's kind of like that. Now, I'm not saying the torch is passed. I'm saying you've had it passed to you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's what I feel.
But as far as the benevolence as well, remember when there was the interference with Facebook of the posts going on? The forest people really wanted to reach out, because in their minds, in benevolence or whatever, this was already seen as a success. Now that's part of the co-creative force, but I think there was such great confidence of the right people coming that had, okay, I don't want anyone to take this wrong, that had enough of the energetics to be able to hold the space. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. That we're more into the energetics of that, so you had a good eclectic mix of people, some people that are more into the energies of it, and can find some of these conversations interesting, but are more current moment energetics. And then you had people needing to have conversations about experiences or whatever. So you had a good mix. So I think benevolence from way back, felt confident that, the energetics were going to be held, and that, that determination was going to be there. And again, it does nothing now but then promote and grow it, as it's going on. So they sent out that congratulatory conversation well in advance when trouble, just to kind of, push people a little bit more. It really is going to be okay. Don't feel bad about it now. And
so I knew the narrative where people had
and it did play out exactly like that. So it's really nice, and it feels like actually they're around. But anyway, I don't know who you're.
There's actually three different groups around. I can Isaac's over here at Land. Vesta are here. They're in your area. They're in Valley of Fire, up in Valley of Fire area in Nevada. I don't want to say your area. I mean the state of Nevada.
Sure.
And Isaac, yeah, he's been around us, been around me forever. Forest people, I'm trying to see who wants to talk, because I'm also feeling the pressure on my chest too. So it's when I get this, that means somebody's trying to shut me up. So it's like when somebody's slamming me in the chest. So it's like that. And that's why I keep this amulet on. I was selling these at the fair, or at the conference. What it is, it's a tower buster that creates this shield, and it prevents the thing from hitting your heart. So that's what. Okay, who is it that wants to speak? Is it Isaac, Forest people, Land Vesta? Which ones? Do you say the Forest people? All right. So we go. That's what we do towards the If you like, I don't know if it's now we do that or
Because you know what, you may formulate a question. I'm like, let them talk because I think you
Yeah, if
got
you want to come through,
questions.
please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel you have some questions that you'll find that you'll want to ask.
Oh, I thought Elena said she wanted to talk because she was in his area. Or do you want to switch from one to the other? If there's time, you'll switch. Okay. All right. Let's see. Because in channel, I can allow the next being to come through, and I have them come through in a crystal, and I got this one at the conference. That's my smaller channel crystal. So,
Nice.
uh,
Andara Crystal.
yeah, from Marvel Bliss, she was selling them. So I got that from her. So, which forest person? Can you grab one of those statues over there, please? The brown one. That's right there. Yeah. Yeah, this is the same ones here. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this would be whom? Uh, oh, Telnorskus usually comes through the other one. Okay, he's the very first forest person I ever met. So, Telnorskus again. I'm benevolent. Telnorskus, true benevolence with no conflicting agendas at this moment. Oh, you're not Telnorskus, but he's around. Okay, who am I speaking to, please? Seymour. Okay, Seymour, he's one I dealt with. He's the brother of the one that I had as the coaster at the event. You had the picture of his brother Fuma. This is his brother Seymour. I believe I have that coaster. If you want to grab that right there, I'll show that to the camera. Yeah, this is the one we had at the fair with. This is Fuma right there in the picture.
He's phasing in.
He's phasing in the center of it, right there.
Okay.
And Fuma is the brother of the one that's just speaking. So Seymour. Okay. Who is pushing so hard on my chest? Can you help me clear that, please? You want me to do this? Okay. Penny always suggests wearing these things. So
Yes.
it looks dorky, but I don't care. So anyway, I don't want my brain scrambled. So okay. All right, Seymour, go right ahead. Through the crystal, please. And if you could take that weight off my chest, please. Thank you. Felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. So like, wow, you really don't want that out. Okay. So this is kind of crap I was talking about, folks, right here. So, all right. Yes. Greetings. Yes, I am Seymour of the Forest People. My home is generally northern Arizona, where him and his family was, along with my brother Fuma and Mirak and Mirnak and grandfather Sufas. He's the tribal leader in that area. My people brought forth the message for the conference because we wanted to set the tone for the what would counteract the attacks that were going on amidst all of this before and during. Even though we are not omnipotent and that cannot account for all, we managed to get a hold or grab a few things that were more ornery, you would say. But then there were other groups of which they were perfectly good that were also there helping out. They wanted a voice of reason, a voice of more authenticity. And this is why he was shown some of the negativity that was trying to run amok, let's just say. They're from human and ET and elemental sources. You had that there as well. You also had the positive elemental sources or Titan sources, which would be dragon. So this is why all this was there. The dragon, yes, he was hiding there. That was the place he called home. And like seagulls in a parking lot picking up garbage, he was picking up food at the conference. But I kid because he's nice. But this is how you can tell that there's kindness, because they know how to laugh, they know how to take a joke, and they also dish them back in return, and they do not get triggered. So this, I know that you wish to have questions, so I will go into this if you like.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your benevolent protection and assistance before and during and now after the event. It would be nice to hear what gains that you and your people were able to see that we made, that it might be more difficult for a human like myself with no third eye vision open currently, or for the most part. I seem to be blocked. I can't perceive the spiritual realm so much. So I'd love to hear what your perceptions are.
Perceptions there at the fair, yes. What we gained out of it was more of a voice, more of an understanding with people of who and what we are amongst all the sea and the choir of different beings that are around, both good and bad. I'm not saying trust every single Sasquatch you run across. That's like saying trusting every single human.
Mhm.
But tighten your circle in this area and do not denigrate yourself, because yes, there have been a concerted effort to block, but by two different sources: the negativity that didn't want it out there, and positivity protecting, so that once you get into this other tier, there will be no going back from this. We have done this with himself, which is to his biggest chagrin and frustration, that certain things got fuzzed, as he would call it. And it is not only negativity that does this. You see, you have positive soul family that comes out in the open in that way through synchronicity, but also spirit beings like ourselves help not necessarily block you. That is the wrong choice of words. We fuzz some of the ether by which, if you can't see certain something, they can't see certain something. Right. So then you are free to ground and lead events such as the conference, you see, in
So
that particular
positive, I would term that like positive interference.
Yes,
In a
yes, there is
sense.
positive interference out there. It may seem unfair. He has whined about it enough, but we understand. So, because he was used to a certain standard by which he conducted himself, by which then had to continue onward slightly differently. You are no different. You are coming into this community for the first time, you see, and you are seeing the breadth of what is around you. And I can honestly say that you will visually see these things, especially being in the area you are in. There are let's just say, different and special beings that are there. I kid, because there's positive and negative is there as well. There's an extremely large ET contingent in that area, both positive and negative. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you've actually seen some walking the street and you just don't realize it. He calls this the angels unaware rule. Whereas if you don't know that they are an ET, they're hanging around you. If you recognize them that they are, they tend to walk away. And he has said this before, because of the restrictions that are in your solar system with the ICC and different New Schwabenlander rules and such, the blockade, he calls this, and we called it before as well. And this is something that needs to be unmanifested in humanity. And these conferences do that unmanifesting, as Miles so quaintly put it, the unmanifestation of these people's agenda. And conferences like this do this, even if there's a little negativity that breaches the wall. What was there was the majority was positivity, the majority was the calm, the majority was the setting the foundation, the majority held the space. This is why people felt the genuineness and the authenticity from your event, Brian. So it is actually much appreciated by the forest people as well.
Okay. May I ask, where did the forest people were they in attendance there in spirit, and were they dimensionally there, I guess, like in the room, and present and, say, watching the presentations with us?
Yes, and this is also another way that we had a shoe in the event. This is why we had him make so many Sasquatch busts. So, because of the fact that, especially the one you were given from dear Levi, yes,
Yeah, Levi, yeah.
And he was actually in the conference room himself. He was literally standing next to you. So
that's hilarious to me. That's like a joke to me. Like, I got people, I'm surrounded by people, they can see all these beings, and then the one could literally be right next to me for half the conference, and I wouldn't know. It's a kind of a cosmic joke at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, it's not necessarily a joke per se, but maybe the joke's on the bad guys because there were so damn many of us there. So we literally, we're not like giving ourselves and ingratiating ourselves upon anyone. It is more or less we were standing side by side as brothers and sisters, as equals. This is the biggest message: is equality, unity, organic unity, not forced unity, is what you did. You brought it about in a way that it just flowed. This is why negativity had such a problem with it. At any point in history, especially in antiquity, well, also now, whereas anytime there was a unity event, the negative forces wanted to use their magic and trickery to divide, and they continue to do that to this day. These conference types are very helpful in this area.
Excellent, excellent. Did they so along those lines of were the forest people able to utilize our event to then kind of congress and get together with other benevolent groups and beings to then forward a more positive agenda?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. There were some negative ones that he did not know about that we kept away, but the positive ones, yes. I hate to use the United Nations as a reference
Right.
because of the negative connotations therein. More or less, like you said, a Congress bringing all these different being types together. And we may have had vastly different opinions on how to proceed, but we still were in the same room with one another. You see, and this is exactly what humans have to do. They have to agree to disagree. Even if there's another approach to something, they have to hear each other out. And these events will bring that type of unity
Excellent.
to a head.
Excellent. Does SEMA, is it?
Seymour.
CMAR, does CMAR have any suggestions for next year's event or in between the kind of work that we should be doing, or how I could allocate focus and resources?
Yes. How you had was pretty good for the start. But then of course, there were some outliers that didn't get attention, meaning some of the vendors, and also the fact that the cyanic dampening that was around was affecting some of the outlying areas. I would suggest protective either devices on property and or protective measures within the space that where you have the talks, where you have the vendors, like say the flags that they have or something such like, or the symbols or something that is on the walls that guard the flanks of the
To
area.
energetically grid the area, want to grid
Yes.
the area properly.
Bring a grid into place. Yes. This makes it so, say, like your Ghostbusters Afterlife movie where the Egon makes a grid on the ground that traps Zool. It's very similar to this, but it's a protection bubble, you see. Of course, he was telepathing to me. I had to use the Ghostbusters reference.
Right,
We are
right.
thoroughly getting, not necessarily fed up, but we think he's being too anal. It's just in that particular way. That's him. But in this particular way, cause or bring about a crystal grid or like say his devices and flags or some such similar, and bring about say sigils, and also say images of our own people sometimes have a tendency to spook some of these other beings off as well, because they see that as more of a talisman. I'm not again saying that we are the epitome of protection. They just don't like us.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a guardian, your guardian beings, and the bad guys don't like to see guardians around, so that makes sense.
exactly.
Good. Yeah, and any other input, Seymour? That is very helpful.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we the clan that he is used to speaking to, and a few from here were actually at the conference, and we found others that would fuse with those busts, and also the man you are meeting here soon, that has that Spirit Lake, that is a hub as well that we communicated from. Beings from there were also doing the same, and other hubs throughout the country were actually focusing on that conference. Not just because it was asked of us, but we have a energetic vested interest in peace and bringing about a unity and a brotherhood and reestablishing an alliance that actually existed thousands of years ago between our two peoples. You will find there are other races that wish to do the same, that do not care for Galactic Federation treaty and doctrine so strict in this area any longer, like the Angels Unaware rule he was talking about, the restricted speaking to one another. Speaking to one another and being in the same room is a milestone in this area. People have forgotten about some of the beings in their history. They think they've fallen to myth and legend like ourselves. And we hide because we must. We do not wish to. There is a difference. There are beings like the dragons that hide because they must.
Hmm.
But this is actually slowly changing. I'm not going to say it's happening overnight, but this is the linchpin era by which this takes place. I
Excellent.
will separate for a moment because there is one other being that wishes to
Mm.
speak, but I thank you.
Thank you, Seymour.
Listen.
God bless.
And yes, Elena, yes, you can step in briefly. Yes, yes. Hmm. Hello, this is Elena, and with my partner Vesa, we are here a lot on their property. Uh, you are actually, Brian, close to a physical location where our groups actually converge. Uh, if you've been to the Vegas Strip, chances are you've walked past this. So when you hear voices on the Vegas Strip and also in the Valley of Fire, we are actually present up there, an opening to our dimensional space. Uh, there is a portal up there. It passes over to an area we call Nouveau. And also, it's a world within a world, very much like your Witcher mythology, where it's the conjunction of the spheres. This is the where there's an opening to a place called the Introverse. Our world is within there. Many of some of the ETs that you see and hear from are actually either from parallel universes, introverse being the majority dimensionally, some underground, some dimensional. That would take up about roughly 95 to 98% of what people run into. But then you have that amount of galactics, which is 5% of the galaxy to 3 to 5% of the galaxy. That's a lot of beings that show up. So majority are descendant lineages that were here on Earth post Orion Wars. That was roughly 500,000 years ago. So we are descendants of people that came from Cassiopeia and also came from the around in the introverse. You have a bit of tall white in there, which are not all bad, despite what you've been told, and human and Lyran and other groups. We settled that part of Nevada roughly in the late 1800s, early 1900s. You'll notice that our material matches some of Charles J. Hall's tall white material and the smiling man of Lonulus, of which the world we are from is called. So that is the material of which we exist in. It's the same story. And if you pass through the portal, you get conditioned to be in that frequency value, by which then if you pass in, you would just see an environment like you see in Nevada. And our structure is more like Pueblo type of buildings. The tall whites that you call them as also have more Spartan versions of that, where they seem to have no taste in color. Hence, they are completely white. So I kid because they have no sense of humor. So some of them wanted to add human in there. I am essentially partially human and partially tall white, of which you would say are fairies and elves, very much like in your Tuatha De Danann mythology. So do you have questions for myself?
I do. Thank you, Elena. So and so next time I'm in Vegas, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for that. And I've got sensitive people with me who I'm sure they could probably pick that up better than I can. Having said that, I'm in very far northern Nevada, closer to Pyramid Lake and the Paiute tribes, and where the Burning Man Festival is held. North central Nevada. I was going to ask you, is there anything more physically up in the northern Nevada area as opposed to southern Nevada where Las Vegas is?
Yes, most definitely. Even further north of Valley of Fire, of which our doorway is one of them. One is Red Rock Canyon. One is on the Strip. One goes into the military DUMS base that is underneath the Strip, which is the Mirage. I might add, Mirage hidden. So it's a military facility that's underneath there. Then you have much further in northern Nevada. Yes, there is a strong ET presence there. There is a mix of a Lyran community that is there, the cat people, but there's a lot of them that are up there look human-like. They aren't always cat-looking. There's also strong Lyran DNA in humans too. But then there is some tall white and there is some human mixed in there, so that you have basically a mixed community that is up in that particular area. If you saw us, we just look like regular people. We have the typical jumpsuit that you see out there sometimes. I wear black. Vessa wears pink, and we're blonde brunette looking, regular human looking. No, Isaac, we do not look Photoshop. Thank you. So he is a jokester. If you saw him, he would have bright red hair and looks like Carrot Top. So, uh, and a beard, and he looks like an elf in just regular clothes. So, he looks like himself too, family member. We know them. We've seen you before as well, pass through Nevada and pass through other areas. You have been watched by some of these various groups because of the conference that you put on and the ideas that you have. You see, when you have even an idea of creating one of these things, there are these tripwires in place that the negativity is put up like cobwebs everywhere, like you run into a cobweb in your doorway kind of thing. You don't know it's there till you touched it. That doesn't mean that anybody's in danger per se. It just means that you've been watched past that certain point, and then you get pinged a little bit, and hence some of the negative activity. The positive activity is that you keep going no matter what. And in that area where you live, the beings that are around there, yes, the positive ones that I'm referring to now, I don't mean just everything, are actually taking a vested interest in this continuing and have actually helped out in that area. And when I say helped out, I don't mean just physically, I mean they're actually lending co-creative energies towards this.
Oh, I welcome that.
People call this prayer, but it is a manifestation effect, pretty much. Yes. Do you have further questions?
Yeah. I mean, more of a message is if there are any positive, benevolent, friendly, Star Nations people, for example, and they want to render assistance because we have common cause, then I invite that, and they're more than welcome to make themselves visible to me or manifest.
Yes, and some do, and some will help you out. You might pick up on them speaking to you in your own thoughts. So you may think it's your own thoughts when some are actually trying to speak to you within your thoughts. You probably do this every single day and don't realize it. It's an autonomic function that people have. People like they're imagining something in their head, or they feel they see a face in their head or something. That is essentially the third eye and part of the amygdala of the brain, which is involved in telepathy. He always says that's why it's in that movie, The Shadow, with Alec Baldwin did that to the injured Genghis Khan's character in it because he hit his amygdala. So that was actually a direct reference to psychic attacks, like glass in the head type of thing. But this, what I'm putting out there is positive, where you will hear people in your own thoughts, but as you begin to build that muscle, you will hear them in their own voice, even when they're not speaking with their mouth. We can do both. If beings like ourselves walked up to you, we would just look like regular people. Other tall white variations are 7 feet tall, like Isaac. He would be roughly 7 feet tall, and he would look like a beanpole. With bright red hair. I say his bright red hair because then we can call him Carrot Top. But since he is not speaking at the moment, he was going to speak today, but the forest people went no. So he can speak some other time, which he's done in great abundance. So we do not always get a voice. So in this instance, we chose to do so. See, we rag on each other, just like some of the commercials you see, like your Mountain Dew commercial, where you see all the aliens together in the commercial and they're like your bros. This is why this was added in there, because this is how we all wish to be seen, so that we can all breathe the same air, let's just say again, together in that area. And I'm not saying that's completely close at hand, because some of these things take a while to iron out, but the beginnings to this and the real foundation of it is happening right now. He tends to get impatient because he wants to do the normal person thing where you're just walking around and talking and that. And we wish that with all our hearts. But there are a few, let's just say, rugruts in the way that I won't point fingers, but Mars in this particular way, that happen to be in our way in this particular area.
Mars, a planet? Mars, a planet?
Yes, Mars and the Martian Germans, to be more specific.
Martian Germans, okay, the ICC
And
types, the
yes,
interplanetary corporate conglomerate.
yes, they are a royal pain in the ass, actually.
Yes,
So
yeah,
they tend to flow traffic and run traffic in and out of the system like a toll booth. So
right,
they're a pain in the butt, even to people that already existed on this planet. They do not care. This is why a majority of the reason why you have beings ducking regular people. They don't want to act like this. They don't want to act kind of retarded like that. They don't want to do that. But they feel they must because of that. This is what needs to be unmanifested by the kindness that you have brought forth creating the conference. This is crucial right now.
do we have a time frame in terms of the disclosure movement? I've been told that the positive ETs or the Galactic Federation types have notified the Illuminati Cabal types that if they don't have disclosure by 2028, then the positive ETs are going to force disclosure. Is that true?
Not completely, but there is a kernel of truth, and the Galactic Federation is actually one of the main instigators in the opposite direction. So, except there are people within it that are in favor of her.
Right,
Just like anywhere else, it's not a consensus. That's
right,
the Galactic Senate are a pain in the butt. Some might vote. It's like in Star Wars where you see them all sitting in
yeah,
the Senate. Anybody brings up Earth, some of them just scoff. Then other ones legitimately want
right,
this fixed. Now, would there be positive ETs that would want to defy the treaties that are out there? There are a majority of treaties that are between the worlds of the Galactic Federation, where if one crosses the stream, as the wildebeest crossing the stream, the crocodile gets them.
mhm,
Literally and figuratively, they get in trouble. Like in World War II, when the negative ETs helped Adolf Hitler, positive ones helped the United States and Great Britain to balance the scales. There is a non-interference directive in there to a certain extent, but it becomes asinine when aliens are already here.
right,
So if enough of them across the stream, those crocodiles ain't getting the wildebeests.
right,
So there is no time frame. I will say 2028, and he does not like it when
yeah,
there's years involved because that can fluctuate with the timelines changing. But
right.
that is a linchpin time in history in 2028 and 30 towards this. And I can't say whether or not you would see a race, but this is the plan that is out there, that you would see something aside from government narrative. They want their own ETs they want to show the world. They've kind of scrapped this slightly because they also scrapped the fake alien invasion, which that was not allowed at all.
Good, good,
So that's gone
good.
completely. So if anybody you hear anybody talking about that, they're full of it. But or they still believe in old narrative timeline. But that sounds about right for events moving forward in this movement. It is still up in the air whether any races would show themselves. The majority of what you're seeing in your skies are your own military, New Schwabenland, Martian, German types, or what you're
Okay.
seeing. Majority of it is military and your own homegrown being passed off as alien. Once that narrative has subsided, it is open. It is open game. Let's just say.
Excellent, excellent.
So
Thank you.
what we were
Yeah.
told, and you can tell me if this is still true, one of the things we were told about that event
Mhm.
in the 2028 or so timeline
Mhm.
would be more of potentially an event that people, it would be televised, something would happen that basically most people would say, I think now I believe there's something to this. More of a unifying thought in the progression of it, not necessarily a group going up and shaking the hand of the president.
I
Yes,
see what you're saying.
exactly.
I see it.
Yes,
So it's more of an unveiling, but not like full on, okay, here we are, and like now let's sign treaties and all that.
yeah,
First, it's more like
exactly.
a public consciousness unveiling that should be, for the most part, be undeniable if we haven't already been provided that by them.
Yes, exactly. It is more or less a changing of perspective and perceptions. People call it the lifting of the veil, but that's not as descriptive. But it is more or less people coming around to the idea. And technically, we're not showing up, we're already here.
Right.
So they always say, like for the invasion timeline, oh, they're going to invade. That's asinine. We're
Yeah.
already
Already
walking
here.
amongst you. So it's just more or less more of a reveal in that way, and the governments of the world wouldn't really be able to hide it, kind of thing. So
Got it.
it's that, and there's positive ETs out there, like that crop circle said years ago with the gray image that was on it.
Mhm.
Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. That's the false timeline. There is good out there. There was someone actually warning you about what the narrative actually was. It was somebody flashing that crop circle or that message into your existence as to who the enemy was.
Right.
Be aware of Greeks bearing gifts, just like in your Eisenhower timeframe when that treaty was signed with them to get technologies in exchange for abductions. That's what it was referencing.
Right.
With that, even though it happened a lot longer ago than that, it was a re-up on a contract is really what
Hmm.
it was about
Hmm.
it from a standing governmental figure. Um, this is why we don't like to give years because that can fluctuate. But what we said was it is more the collective consciousness coming to that awareness. Yes.
Let's see. Then can Elena, does she have any insight on? So here I'm literally in Winnemucca on Winnemucca Mountain overlooking the city or town of Winnemucca. And there seems to be a military base behind me. And I'm not sure if it's like a deep underground military base or what. Can she tell me or share what that is and what their intention is in this
Yes, she
mountain?
can because she is sitting right in front of you. Joke, but but now Isaac is probably going to do the third person routine from now on. But anyway, like Zothras from Babylon 5 kind of thing. I'm just pegging. I'm just joking. But yeah, all the bases you've ever heard of are all deep underground military bases. The one you look at, you're just seeing the surface facade, and it is actually a couple miles deep underneath.
So I'm living on top of a I literally am living on top of a dome. Like Brian, and like underneath me, like a couple of miles down, there's a dome underneath my feet.
Pretty much, yeah, yes. And before his ears, like you said, dump. That is still apropos in this conversation. He thought you said dump, and I said no. He said dumb. But
Yeah.
it is still. They are literally. It's just like in your Fallout series where you see the bases and the vaults underneath towns.
Right? The
That's what
vaults.
you're dealing with.
Oh, and are they malevolent because they're part of the deep state, or are they neutral, or it's apparatus that could be picked up by either the good guys or the bad guys, and in the meantime, it's under the purview of the general U.S. military, so it depends on how our government goes.
They're a mixed bag between corporate projects, military BS, and good guys, bad guys, all in between.
Yeah.
It's the lines are blurred a bit. It's basically whoever woke up on the right or wrong side of the bed that morning. It's essentially, are you going to be a tit baby today or not? That's essentially what it is. Are you going to continue on with a project that you have no business doing, or are you going to scrap it, or are you going to waste time, money, and resources on God knows what? That's basically what it is. There's malevolence and positivity there.
Are they interacting with us, either the malevolence or benevolence, interacting with me and my household, given that I'm literally on top of them? Or
Yes, from the neighborhood and town that you are in. They are, some of them are phased into a different frequency, like ourselves. They're out of time sync. He always says like Batman and Doctor Time characterization, where Doctor Time stepped in a different frequency and messed with Batman's character in the animated series. If you know the reference, it's that. Or Star Trek, where these aliens were out of time frequency because of a viral contagion, and they sounded like insects. That some of them are like that, but the majority of what you're dealing with are ones that actually will come into your room and either act like aliens, or they just will come in the middle of the night, use our little psionic screwdriver thing like Doctor Who, put the neighborhood to sleep, and see who's becoming slightly, as you would say, more awake, or your psionic abilities are building. Hence why the forest people were saying there was a protection there to begin with. There's nothing, you're not really in danger per se. It's just more like the area is under surveillance for
Mhm.
that. So eventually getting your head above the psionic dampening field, some metaphysical people call it the junk layer, where they just hear a bunch of radio garbage. That's the B2K garbage too. There'll come a time where that won't happen. It doesn't happen every single day of the week. It's just like I said, if they wake up on the wrong side of the bed that day. Or if they want something, hey, I need this. Let's go to it's like them going to the store. They see it that way. Oh, we need to collect materials. Oh, that guy has the genetics we want. Oh, this person has something for our project. Let's go do it. But the other factions might think otherwise. So we have to disguise ourselves as a bug. Or in the case of what he calls the bed bug faction, where they use bed bugs to collect people's genetics, or fake flies, insects as surveillance. That's the kind of thing you're dealing with. They won't walk directly in your house
Right.
unless they want to get slammed by some of the other factions out there.
Right. So
Uh,
protection.
yes, those treaties protect you. It protects us, but at the same time, eventually all the wildebeests will have to cross the stream, you see.
Right. I see. And then so then in my own path here, am I is there any interference or anything I need to know of to counter actively or just continue on my path?
Continue on your path always, regardless of
Right, right.
interference.
Sure, sure.
That is the best I can say. And also, do what you did at the conference when you had confrontation. As the forest people would say, "Analam," or calm, meaning that neutral space. I'm not saying don't feel joy or feel anger towards things you're supposed to. It's just don't let that grab a hold of you. That is literally the greatest weapon they have, is your own ability to self-farming a situation, or try to enact programming on you. You feel it hit, you enter that state immediately. This will keep your protection, a protection or a protection shield around you. And basically that signifies you've just put your sword in the ground and saying no more of this. And that's the greatest weapon you have against that.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, it's all spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Psionic and spiritual war. Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. And then so then, oh geez, I forgot what I was going to ask. Now this is all very helpful. I mean, and it's been the message I consistently get is keep on the path. Um, you know, geez, well then, is there anything else that I could be doing that I'm not already doing to help galvanize the disclosure movement?
Just make sure when you have further conferences, vet the hell out of it. Energetically, make sure that that state, not to an over extent like a new age group would do, to where you couldn't have a shifting of emotions, because you're going to have that all the time.
Right, right.
Just make sure that the proper energetic procedures and the foundation of it is laid brick by brick. And this is where I'm at with this. I don't want to tell you what to do or how to do it, but make sure it is a firm foundation in the balanced and positive area, but not say infringing on anybody. But then don't let yourself be infringed upon.
I mean, yeah, be good about setting boundaries and intention so that we can
Yes.
screen out a lot of the drama and negativity.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then it will evolve from that point, and it will set a greater stage for what either other ones use, because you may have copycats. I can't promise you won't. When you, and I always say this to him as well. We say this to him as well, and Isaac does too. And force people say, when you establish something, there's always going to be somebody that it's great enough to steal it, the idea. Since they don't want to come up with it on our own, that's the butterfly effect. Do not get offended if that happens. You continue on the path.
Now, is anyone on the positive side, are they allowed to reveal themselves to me, or is there a reason why I'm always being screened and shielded even by the benevolent beings I seem to be working with?
Yeah, they actually have shown themselves to you already, just in the form of regular people. Uh, that you saw them at the conference. You've seen them in your area, because there are some that actually are watching the other groups. Even Isaac himself has actually wandered up in that area. So is his brother. Isaac looks like himself, but just with red hair. If you spot him, and is much taller. So if you see him, and you see us, we look like this. So,
Wow. I'd remember you if I saw you, I'm pretty sure.
so, so provocative, I know, but that's our culture.
Right.
So we are more open in that area. Some people take offense, others do not. Most humans that we have run across, or most full humans we run across, are not,
Right.
with the exception of a few. But I do not wish to offend, but we've dumbed ourselves down slightly when we're out in the open.
Hmm.
Shielded our energy a bit. We look like that, but not as bright.
Hmm.
Because we're part tall white. They have an ability, not necessarily a natural ability to glow, but they have been sold that they glow energetically. Isaac also attributes it to their technology, calling them the shining ones. But
Mm.
uh, this is why he was basically poking at us, saying we looked photoshopped, because not only are we on that picture and we're on other products and such, we have this sheen in the hair, and we get that from the tall white side. So not necessarily just the DNA, but it's also the tech we have around us and the energy. But around you specifically, are there physical beings around you? Yes, there are. And I mean, there are watchers, or good watchers and bad watchers, but you have positivity at your back. That this does not mean that you do not protect yourself as well.
That's right. Be vigilant and stay positive. Stay on the
Mm-hmm.
path. Excellent.
And I think the one thing is your feeling energies, because, I'm sure you feel things. So I think one of the things that we can say from our experiences is that you feel when they're around. And you can actually more of that. It actually still is quite dangerous for them to reveal themselves.
Yeah.
Chris and I have both we have both with our eyes had experiences where we've seen things and seen people, but they were unintentional, except for one time with me. One time with me, it was intentional, and they got in a lot of trouble for it. but other times it's not.
The blue man. Yeah.
It's not intentional that sometimes these things are happening right now, but you can feel, because there's a different energy vibration, that somehow the energy is getting different. And again, and working on your discernment, is that something I should be worried about or not worried about? Oftentimes, if you're really not worried about it, really could be that someone is around, even though you may not be able to point them out. But there's a safety factor on both sides in that. So I would say, because it seems to me that a lot of energy people, if they know to shield vision, to protect, but you enhance in your other skills naturally.
Right. Yeah, and I do feel like, even though I don't see anything, I do have the feeling, knowing.
And the one thing that they were saying, that I don't know if you've ever been in it, like you can, I'm thinking of a flower and I can almost see the flower in my head, like see it showing up in my head space. That is a type of vision. Right. So, you know what I mean? So that is,
and we can see this as well. When you generate a visual in your mind as to what you're trying to say, we can communicate in visuals in the head, as well as verbal language, as language in the head as well. So it is both. Telepathy does that. Yes.
Is Elena able to speak to a possible reptilian last-ditch invasion in 2030 of Earth?
No, this is a psyops. Actually, this is the reptilians have been here for time immemorial. There is no necessarily invasion, except for the fear building thereof towards, like with your scamdemic that took place. They had a feast off of that looshing energy. So it is essentially the same. They are attempting to fish with narratives. That one is a psyops. I'm actually glad to say.
Good. Okay. Because I've got people who are in the time traveling community, and I know that some of them at least have been part of these time travel programs. Do they talk about this and as a possible timeline, not to sow fear, but, just be ready that there's a 2030 timeline where apparently, the reptilians have already been here, but they're kind of getting more kicked out. And then they try a last ditch attempt to try to reestablish control.
This does not necessarily mean, pardon to interrupt, but this does not necessarily mean that military aren't being due diligent to fish some of them out of the underground tunnels too. So some of these more dangerous Draco, they tend to leave them alone, except that they bust into their areas and start busting down walls and stuff. Then they get shot. So this is essentially that. Now, I'm not saying that somewhere in the multiverse something didn't happen, but you shift timelines constantly. Like whatever your frequency value is, this is the one you're resting upon. Let's see. So if somebody went ahead into the future from where they were, you say, they did see the thing. They came back and went, oh my God, this is going to happen. We have to warn people, which is great. But then it shifted and changed because the co-creative frequency value of people changed.
Which is good in this case, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very good. Yes. Did you two have any further questions?
Yeah, I think we're, if you're okay, if you don't have anyone, just let her have a last say and then we'll close this off.
Okay. Thank you, please.
Yes, this has been fun and interesting. Yes, we have Nevada be our home, but if you saw our home, you would pass through the portal that's in Valley of Fire. That is if the security community would actually let you anywhere go near that area. There are some on the reverse side of the portal and some you don't see in Valley of Fire. And there's some on the strip that you don't see as well. they phased a little bit, where then you would end up coming to our area where you'd see several Pueblo-like homes up in the hills with flower gardens and things of that nature. And we have holographic tech that can actually simulate certain equipment and certain things like a holodeck. It's like that. Then you have the tall white community that's in that area that tend to be slightly more perturbed. They're all right to a certain extent, slightly more arrogant than us. But the point I'm bringing up is there is good and bad in all communities. There is good. There's good in your area. There's good in your area, and there's good, bad, and ugly, and all in between. As you conduct yourself, you are then changing yourself, doing the appropriate inner work. You are then manifesting those beings around you that could possibly then help you enhance this. But at the same time, there are others that wish to try to smother.
Mm.
So when you run into that, deal with it as it comes along. We always tell him this when he runs into something really ornery. He gets sick of the domino effect of some of them that take place, like with his face and everything. This is understandable why he gets a little tit babyish when it comes along. Yes, he taught us this word. This is word we did not know beforehand. So meaning a whiner. We're just kidding. But in this, we know how to joke other than our tall white counterparts, which have no sense of humor in this area. So I will, before I go too far down a freight train rabbit hole here, I will say thank you, goodbye, and we will speak soon.
Yes.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah, she was starting to get a little wobbly there. I noticed my hand was starting to shake a little bit there because I use that crystal to channel through, and it's just like the fact that like I usually have only one group usually per channel, and then they Rolodex it and they shift in another one like that. Man, when they showed you the picture, I told them I was like I might have to censor them, but no, they always insist that comes out because that's the culture that exists on that planet, or on the I shouldn't say planet. Planet and world are different. It's like saying continent and country.
Right.
So you have planet, which is the dimensional opening of the door for worlds within worlds. Earth has one, a nexus point. Mars has one. I've noticed. So where it's a world within a world or a nesting doll. That's what I meant by the Witcher mythos, where it was the conjunction of the spheres, where everything lined up portal-wise. The portal they have, this one, in Valley of Fire, right there, the circle one, is a piece of stone technology from hundreds of thousands of years ago. And it was connected to the original Bifrost that Asgard was originally connected to. So, and it was, the Interverse was connected to all of this. It's still the same Earth, but you go there and see maybe a different star pattern and stuff, but it's a world within a world like you see in the video game, Witcher 3, Game of the Year Edition, Wild Hunt, where Geralt goes into the other worlds. It's like that. So that's a direct reference in its main quest line. So where it's different worlds, but they were still within the same space. So that's where they are, is in one of those Russian nesting doll spaces. So
is that intradimensional thing they were talking about?
Interdimensional. They call it the interverse, where it's like instead of multiverse, which is multiple universes, or omniverse, which is multiple multiverses, or super omniverse, which is multiple omniverses, you have the introverse, which is the nesting doll. So that's why you had the Scandinavians say Asgard, Midgard, which is guarding the middle ground. That's us, and then Agartha, and all of in between, the nesting doll. That's where the Vikings got the information from. So that's where they are. They're in one of these other spaces. So like basically in the next room is essentially
it's a pocket reality, or the next realm, a sister realm.
It's essentially a sister realm that people thought they were going to a different planet when they were brought there. That's how these beings, with like the Smiling Man of Lanulos, for instance, story where he brought the author of the book that over to to Lanulos. It was the same space these ladies were speaking from. So it wasn't another planet; it's another world. So that's the distinction between planet and world. So they wanted to make sure that I had the terminology right, where world was that space, planet is like you see Earth, and Midgard around like this. It's guarding the middle ground. And that's what some planets are that are nexus points. And Earth is a nexus point. Mars is one too, but it has to be repaired. Its gate system has to be repaired because it was marred from the old wars. So and Asgard completely blew up, but its dimensional space is around us. Its planetary door opening was the thing that blew up. The dimensional space is still intact.
Still there.
So yeah, so that's why the Scandinavians got that. That's they told me that, they gave me that rundown months ago of how the structure was built up and everything. But they're part human. They say humans pass in there all the time. So except they tend to want them to stay there. They don't want people completely going back and forth all the time, because they would get too much negative attention after a while, and the treaties would start to people would start crying treaties and signatures on paper and all that crap. So
they're basically like, pick a side. Like, if you're going to be visiting Earth, stay on the Earth side. Don't keep coming back and forth, back and forth. And then, and that smiling guy, that's Indrid Cold.
Indrid Cold. Yeah, they said he came from the same space that they did.
Is he still around?
Yeah, actually, him and his people are still wandering around out there. That's the more Nordic looking of the people. The smiling man is more the taller, like 7 feet tall type ones. Like Isaac is one of the smiling man. So it's and Lane and Vesa are the shorter variety that have human and Lyran DNA in there. So and so smiling man, Isaac's objecting, going, I don't have a Frankenstein head. Okay, so yes, I know he looked like Frankenstein. I understand. But he's making fun of Indrid, so I know he's got to know him. But anyway, he looks like me, red hair, but he's 7 feet tall, and he's part human, so he has the height of the smiling man, but with the look of a human. So that's basically how it is. The way the genes lined up and hybrided, it was kind of odd how it lined up. But there's tall varieties and there's regular short varieties.
And the regular shorter varieties, are they the more sexual, or the taller varieties are as sexual in their culture?
I just heard Isaac go, I'd like to think it's all equal across the board. He's like, you've opened Pandora's box now, Tim. But anyway, he'll probably, if he comes into a channel, he will rattle on forever about so he will go on. He will make every lewd joke and crude joke that you have a name for. This is because they want to know the sense of humor. They want to be able to integrate around us, like they were making reference to the Mountain Dew commercial where all the aliens are buds and bros and everything. That's how they want it. That's how they want to be seen. So it's how the positive ones want to be seen anyway.
Right.
The bad ones are the overlord types, the egocentric type. But these guys, perfectly fine. So yeah, you're dealing with the galaxy, you're dealing with a mixed bag of genetics. So it's not like oh yeah, okay. So yeah, I could go on forever about this, but we don't have forever. But these so yeah, Isaac is like this. So so it's like so I could go on and on and on about that, but because it's more of a passionate subject of ours. So it's but yeah, this has been absolutely wonderful to have you on, Brian. This has been great. Yeah.
Anytime, let me know. I love to be back, and I love the direct messages is amazing. That is a very valuable information there, and so I'm yeah. Please, when it's ready to go on, share the link with me, and I'll share it out. And it's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure on our other end too. Joanna, you want to say?
No, I just hope everybody again enjoyed the conversation. I'm glad you got a chance to just, off the cuff, ask some questions that you were interested in. And again, and I hope everybody follows along as we, advertise next summer's Disclosure Now conference. And hopefully we can see some of you guys there.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. So thank you everybody for watching this show. We greatly appreciate this. Give Brian a shout out. Go to check out his material. We'll put links below. Check out the Disclosure Now's website. We'll put all pertinent links in the description. So I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, guys. How much was I being tailed and attacked?
You weren't necessarily being attacked, you were being watched. I suppose that's an attack in and of itself, but you were more or less just being watched. They tried to hit you with, I saw beams come at you and you just kind of went bleh, and it was you just kept it away from you.
Really? So so you did see stuff coming at me.
I saw stuff come at you when you would walk near the table. It would affect you like when you were more tired and worn out. And like if you were getting creepy thoughts and narratives in your head, that was them doing that. But like if you were getting like real, like if you were starting to feel more argumentative, that was them. So it was like, or if somebody else was trying to gaslight you into being argumentative, that was these guys doing it. If you weren't being affected, it was affecting people around you.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a way, like we say, you actually have the way. I think if I say this, you're going to know exactly what I mean. You have a way to put yourself into a neutral space and
Right.
not engage.
Right.
Yeah, you seem to have a natural talent for it, and they hate that shit. So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah. I use objectivity versus their emotional weaponry.
Right.
And they hate that because they can't affect you. It's like in Star Trek Next Generation where they find that Vulcan like psionic resonator, and when everybody went logical, it didn't work on them.
Right.
So yeah, so it was like that. Where Picard, well, they shot at Picard, he just stood there in a neutral state, and it didn't do anything to him. So it's exactly like that. If you hit that, the Force people call it the analum state, where it's the calm state. This thing passes right over you, and it won't do anything. So it's the same thing you saw in that episode, the exact same thing. So
and then it attacks everyone around me.
And then it hits everyone around you and triggers them to get you riled up to get affected by the thing. So it's like,
it's a pain in the ass. It's fine. One thing to be shielded, but then when it just goes after everyone around you who's not shielded, it's like,
yeah, it's a pain. I run into it all the time. It's a pain in the ass. So in public, regular strangers will just get triggered to accost me sometimes. So it's
like, it's, we have to recognize this is how it is right at this current present moment. And again, not to, you're the same. I feel you're the same way. No judgment, no whatever. I just need to move on and stick with what I'm doing. And, it's very difficult. But if people can get to an understanding of that, and then they really embrace it and they really can start to gain control of this stuff. But that's the hard work conversation. I mean, people can utilize some of these fairs and some of these stories, and what they're actually doing is what they consider, well, what they don't realize. They're in a distraction mode. They are going and hearing one distraction, one story. I mean, how many do you need to hear? They don't want to leave their anger phase. They don't want to do these things, and they don't want to do the work because they're feeling so victimized. They feel they shouldn't have to do the work.
Right. They're distracted from the goal and they don't want to do the shadow work. And that's laziness and avoidance of shadow work is a nasty combination.
It is, but it's the MO of the darkness and evil, because they can keep people. I always say you're going to just continually circle the toilet.
It's so effective. Yeah, it's so effective a strategy that's what the other side uses.
Exactly.